I'm Alicia.
And I'm Maddie.
And welcome to the Fangirl Diaries, a podcast where we talk about our obsessions,
Reminisce about our teen icons,
and explore the books, movies, and shows that made us the incredibly nerdy 30-somethings that we now are.
Hello!
I have been literally waiting all day to say, Cadets, welcome to Battle Briefing. Ooh. Maddie, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about the book phenomenon, The Fourth Wing.
Now, hang on a sec. Is it The Fourth Wing? This is crucial. Or is it Fourth Wing?
Fourth Wing.
We should actually say for the listeners that we have balanced our podcast microphone
on both books.
On both books. So Maddie can see the spine. Is it The Fourth Wing?
No, it is just Fourth Wing.
Fourth Wing. Except for the context of this discussion, at times we will refer to the Fourth Wing.
Yes, of course.
Which is a particular group that our heroine belongs to, but we'll get to that. And I mentioned multiple books that the podcast mic is balancing on because we have specifically timed this podcast episode today in honour of what?
The release date of the second book in the series, Iron Flame, which was released just today, November 7th.
Literally, okay, just in case anyone doesn't know, it happens to be November 7th. It started to get cold. I'm wearing double socks. But Iron Flame is the new book, and it really does look new. Like, it's balancing on my copy of Fourth Wing, and I had not realised how utterly destroyed my copy of Fourth Wing was. Like, it's dishevelled. When I was reading it today, I had sand coming out of it.
Well, you did lend it to me as well, so
it has been passed around.
Yeah.
And Iron Flame arrived today, which I dutifully unwrapped, and it's so beautiful. It's all bronze and shiny, and I'm loving these covers that they've gone for. We've got Fourth Wing is that iconic gold cover.
Yeah.
Is this bronze?
Yeah, it's bronze or copper, yeah.
It's bronze. In fact, I know it's an iconic cover because I've been lugging this thing around on my reread for the last 2 days, and people keep looking at it knowingly.
Oh, yeah. And you see people reading it as well on, like, the tube or the train. Like, you can always spot someone reading it with that massive gold hardcover book.
Absolutely. And I think part of the reason we've chosen this for a podcast episode is that this does seem to be a contemporary obsession of a lot of people. This book is massive.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of different from the other episodes we've done so far, right? So far we've been looking back at previous obsessions from our kind of teenage years, early 20s. No, this is absolutely a current one, but it really, like, fits into the same kind of stuff that we love, so
much.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to think about was, do you think, like, would we have been obsessed with this previously?
Yes. Obviously.
100%.
If we're obsessed with it now, we absolutely would have been obsessed with it like 10 years ago.
Oh, I'm so thankful for the production of these kind of books because, like, we've got this whole list of things that we want to talk about, like, retrospectively. And sometimes I think, were we just spoiled? Were we just lucky to have been millennials as part of this teenage culture that was handed these amazing fantasy books, TV shows, etc. But actually, they keep coming.
Yeah.
They keep coming. And this is the contemporary one. So I only started to hear about Fourth Wing. And this also marks the shift really in time from how obsessions and things like this used to reach us at school to the current moment that we're now in, which is that I found out about this on Book Talk.
Yeah.
Which did not exist.
No.
Did not exist. When we think about things like, we've done an episode on Twilight, or we're going to talk about The Hunger Games, or even a lot of other books, the origin story is literally who was lent it by whose second cousin who had whispered about it to them. This now, the book recommendations that we receive tend to be from completely unknown people just raving on the internet.
On social media. Totally.
And I kept seeing this gold thing everywhere.
Yeah.
Mainly on the accounts of people who I know are really obsessed with Sarah J. Maas, who we will talk about separately. But it's important because Rebecca Yarros, who is the author of this and this book, is really frequently compared to and discussed in relation to Sarah J. Maas's books. But when I saw those two things paired together, I was sold.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm buying it. I marched to Waterstones. And even in Waterstones, it was like the last copy left.
Nice.
And I thought, I'm onto something. There's something going on here. And when I gave it in at the till, the person gave me a sort of knowing look. So I was like, right, okay. And so then how did you receive it?
From you.
I know.
You were like,
That was such a staged question.
Read this now. And you know what? I was actually slightly skeptical because the last thing that you had done that with was ACOTAR, which I didn't really like. And so I was like, oh no, it's going to be another one. But I don't know, the lure of dragons on the cover and the like concept of a school and all that stuff is just so in my wheelhouse that I was like, no, I'm absolutely going to read this. And I think it took me a little while, but I took it on holiday. And I read it on holiday, and I was completely sucked in, and it was awesome.
I think we both read this on holidays.
Yeah.
I took this on a holiday with my friend Olivia, which we do a kind of beach holiday. And I almost feel sorry for people who accompany me on these holidays where I'm absolutely obsessed with a book, because my ability to be social just declines. And I will sit on a sort of sun lounger for about 8 hours straight, just with my nose pressed against the pages. And Olivia said, you kept yelping. I was scaring passers-by. So absorbed was I in this book.
Amazing.
And that experience was only punctured by me stopping to send you a series of voice notes, and I'm afraid video notes.
Yeah.
Just being like, you need to order this book.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, I didn't even order it. You just gave me your copy.
That's right.
You were just like, you have to have this immediately.
That's right. I was really insistent.
Yeah.
I was really insistent. And I'm sorry, because it had all the sand in it from my trip. But that experience of you disliking, and we should say for the record that we are going to refer to ACOTAR. And for anyone, I don't know who this is, who's unaware of this concept, ACOTAR is A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book in the series by Sarah J. Maas. And this has been this sort of sensation of the slightly more adult book world for the last couple of years. But Fourth Wing has really been now brought into the same space. But it's fascinating that you enjoyed this one,
Yeah.
but don't like ACOTAR, which I guess we'll talk about maybe a little bit later, because they are different. And we were saying just earlier that actually this is also a very different thing for us, because when we talk about Twilight or The Hunger Games or any of these books that we read as teenagers, we are so frequently saying that they resonated with us because we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they were
it's that
written.
shared
They were
space.
written for teenagers. They were in the category of young adult. Like, you know, they were designed to be read at the exact age that we were reading them, and the characters were that age as well. And we loved that.
I'd love to say that we're still that age, but I think people have gathered from this podcast format by now that we are not.
No.
We are now in our 30s, and it turns out that we haven't changed because we still enjoy the same material. But this book features the heroine and the female main character and the male main character are all in their early 20s. So we are now not their peers, but we are a little bit more able to, or certainly the things I was enjoying about the book was resonating with the author, Rebecca Yarros, who, as I was reading, I was thinking, Rebecca, we've read the same things, haven't we? We like the same stuff.
And it is designed for an older age group, right? It's not designed for teenagers. It's designed for people in their 20s and 30s.
Definitely. Although I would like to add, why is nobody in fantasy over the age of 21?
I know.
Why? Why? As I was flipping through this book, and sometimes they give it a few pages before they get specific about ages, but I just knew that we were going to get to the line where she was like, and because I was 20, and I thought, God damn it. Again.
I know.
Again. No, we've definitely aged out of this character space, but it turns out we have not aged out of getting excited about these various different tropes and themes, and just this book is bursting at the seams with the stuff that we love. What did you spot in this that you thought, oh my God, I know what this is and I love it?
It's the classic kind of the similarities to something like, the Hunger Games or any of these like books where you've got a really like high concept, like you've got a school or you've got a format of the games and it's really rigidly structured and everyone's got to go through all the like different challenges and the hoops and the like next stages. And in this book, it's basically a university for training you up to be a dragon rider or a warrior. And yeah, it's got all like the different quadrants and the different, people of different proclivities either become a rider or a scribe. And then if you become a rider, then you're put into the different wings. And then you've got to go through all the different challenges to get yourself through. And that format is just so reminiscent of all of the kind of teenage books that we loved. You need that structure to then create all of the like fun storylines and the intrigue and keep you wanting to know what happens next.
You and I just have so much energy for this kind of thing. Yeah. We were just primed to lap this up. This is probably a good point at which to do a summary.
Yeah.
We should say, if you are listening to this, there's just no way for us to avoid spoilers. So please pause now. We can't recommend it enough. Go and get a copy of Fourth Wing and then just grab a mug of tea and come back to this podcast.
Yeah, put it on pause and then come back. You can listen to some other ones, but come back to this one when you've read the book.
We have not read Iron Flame.
No, we're not going to be talking about the second book at all. So don't worry if you haven't read that one yet. We don't expect any of you to have done... Well, we might expect some of you to have done so by now, but...
I know that some people did, so I am avoiding... I literally cannot open any form of social media today. It has to be embargoed because everybody who is crazier than us sort of set their clocks for midnight, downloaded the audiobook, or... Quite a few people took the day off work.
Yeah, I know someone from my old job who took the day off work to read it. She posted on a picture of her at 8 a.m. this morning opening it.
I love that so much because we grew up in the centre of the Harry Potter kind of mania. And this doesn't really compare to that yet.
No.
But that idea of being at the bookshop the second it opened, not talking to anyone until you've read it, and I haven't really seen anything comparable, really, since.
No.
And this seems to be something that has got people incredibly excited. But anyway, a summary. So, Fourth Wing, a novel by Rebecca Yarros. And the concept is that our main character, Violet Sorrengail, has taken it upon herself to try and pass the challenges to become a rider. So in this fantasy kingdom, Madeline is quite right, everybody is divided into 4 quadrants. Riders, and the riders get to ride dragons, scribes, healers, and infantry. Although we should say the first book really, really focuses on the dragon rider quadrant. And Violet attempts to get into, and then does make her way into Basquiath War College. It's already so cool. Where she has to spend the next 3 years, first of all, trying to survive. It's incredibly deadly, this war college. It's kind of in the name. And she is the daughter of a famed general. So she effectively arrives with a target on her back. And the kingdom itself experienced an uprising several years previously. And so there are several students at the college who are the sons and daughters of the rebellions who have been executed. Madeline, who amongst them is the chief rebellion child survivor person? Who are we concerned with here? Who is our male main character?
That would be Xaden.
Surname?
Riorson.
Yes! I was like, I don't think I've ever heard someone say his name without his surname.
Xaden Riorson.
Are we going with Riorson? I call him Riorson.
I've also heard Ryerson.
This book is so... one of the things I have a question for you is how do we say, is it Sgaeyl? Sgaeyl.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Well, there has been a little bit of controversy. If you don't mind me jumping into your summary.
I'm done with the summary.
There's been a little bit of controversy recently, actually, about some of the pronunciations of the words. And Rebecca Yaros got in a little bit of social media trouble this week because a lot of the words have been taken from Scottish Gaelic language.
No way.
And she doesn't really know Scottish Gaelic. In fact, in an interview, she called it Gaelic, which it's not. That's Irish, or at least mostly associated with Irish. And yeah, so people were explaining how to pronounce some of these words as they would be pronounced in Gaelic. So, for example, it's Tarn or Tarnenach, not Tern, but Rebecca Yaros pronounces it Tern, which is just not right, even though she's like taken the word directly from Gaelic. And the same with, it's in theory, Basgiath, not Basgaeth, which the War College. So basically, there's a little bit of controversy that she's taken ideas of words, or not even just ideas of words, whole words or pushed together words, but even she doesn't know how to pronounce them. So I think we can be forgiven for it not being clear in the book exactly how we should pronounce some of the words.
What I'm basically hearing is that it's a free-for-all. We're just, everyone just pronounce the names however you want. There are some really, really complex names in here, but a crucial one is Xaden Riorson, who is the male main character. And this is the classic enemies to lovers format. He and Violet are mortal enemies. Their parents are responsible for the deaths of almost one another. And so the book has to follow this, one of my favourite formats, where we aren't quite sure if Xaden is going to kill Violet or ends up in love with Violet.
Yeah.
And I wonder which one it is.
It's extreme at the beginning. It's like you literally think that they are mortal enemies. This is not just mild enemies to lovers.
It's
this
mortal.
is like...
Yeah, we should say that the whole setting is... the mortality rate in this book is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is a war college. We're reminded constantly that the cadets, the new riders, particularly the first years, continuously die.
Yeah, do we get told the percentage of them that actually make it to graduation at some point?
We
because
do.
It must be minuscule.
It's ridiculous. It's
like,
yeah.
What country is this that can just like throw its like healthiest, strongest, young, strapping youth into this place and just kill like 80% of them? Like, what, do they just have infinite children? I don't really understand.
You're right, because this is, to be a rider, we're told, is the elite. This is the absolute elite. This is like the SEALs or something. But the death rate is ridiculous. And this, for me, was the concept that lifted it into a slightly more adult space from, I felt its closest comparison, The Hunger Games, where this is an educational environment that continues to kill its students.
Well, I think there's The Hunger Games throws children into a fighting arena and 95% of them have to die. So I think The Hunger Games is probably a lot darker than you're remembering, but we can talk about that another week.
That's going to be us next week. We'll have to do a kind of comparison, but you're absolutely right. But the book is structured in such a way that a lot of chapters begin by them literally reading out the death roll of the characters that died before.
Yeah.
And
the previous day, I guess.
The previous day. And so we have a Hunger Games influence here, but also, you already referenced, the academic setting. We're so primed for this because we grew up on Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So any book that starts in September with a new school year and takes us all the way through to June, I'm there. I'm happy with that. I'm pretty convinced that and I wonder how many people that are millennials do this as well, but I don't think in terms of January to January. For me, the new year starts in September.
New school year. Well, you do also work with students. So.
I do. This is probably part of my job, but sometimes I think, is this because every year we experienced a new Harry Potter school year? But this is the same, except that you were right, it's aged up. We are now at university level with these students. So it's a much sexier darker. Oh gosh, we can't even compare it to Harry Potter at all, really.
No, it's a different world.
League. And we also have the influence of one of our other absolute favourite things, Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love watching Rebecca Yarros' work she was woven together. It's like she's put together some sort of sushi menu of every single thing that I want from all the best things that we already love. And it's absolutely shameless in just throwing everything in there. And I'm so here for it. But the dragons, I mean, how do you think she adapted the Game of Thrones format here, which we're very used to? We love that.
I guess there's the kind of politics side of it. There's the commanders and what's going on with the rebellion. And there's the political side of this bigger picture, kind of worldwide war kind of situation that is very, it's kind of like a slightly smaller scale than Game of Thrones, but it's that. And then also taking the idea of dragons, which become this epic kind of force in Game of Thrones, and saying, okay, well, what if we were in the version where we had those full-time, full-scale, we've got lots of dragons on our side, what would that look like? What would the relationships between the humans and the dragons be? How would we work together? Are they independent, or are they on our side, or not really on our side? And how do those relationships work? I think that's pretty cool.
And dragons in this book are part of everyday life. They're a key part of this society. In Game of Thrones, dragons are really on the sideline for most of it. Daenerys is in a different place. She's only got a handful of them. Here, the structure is that each rider has to bond with a dragon. Mm-hmm. You can't be a rider without a dragon. Yeah. There's nothing to ride. So the dragons are sort of plentiful. And a brilliant, brilliant thing that this book does so well, and that I really love, is the relationship between the rider and the dragon is communicated through mind speak. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They can speak to each other. So the dragons have personalities. They're funny.
They are funny.
They're a lot of the source of the comedy of this book. They're opinionated. They're kind of sassy. And so that bond is something. In Game of Thrones, you just have Daenerys tell us. She's like, the dragons are my children. Whereas in this, you really get the characters of Violet's dragons coming through dialogue.
Totally. And the other thing that I think Rebecca Yarros does really well is you can tell that she's not only taking from the inspiration that she's enjoyed of things like Game of Thrones or Hunger Games and these other kind of franchises, she's also definitely taken a lot from her own life and experience. And I noticed this immediately. I think I was reading and I was partway through and I happened to read the little insert in the inside of the cover that told you a little bit about her life. And it was like, Rebecca Yarros comes from a military family. And I was like, well, of course she does. Yes. This book is so steeped in kind of military lore and military, all the different regulations and the codex books and the whatever. It's very, very clearly you can see that influence. And that's one. And then the other one that I felt was quite obvious when you were reading it is so Violet, she's actually very different to. I mean, this is a classic, right? Your heroine's got to be different to everybody else. But she's different in that she's gone into this, she's pushed into becoming a rider, but physically she's seen as quite weak, and she's always dislocating joints, and has a lot of kind of physical weakness. And I was reading this and I was like, I'm pretty sure this sounds like somebody with a chronic illness. This is not just a random whoopsie daisy, I dislocated my joint. This is somebody who's suffering from something chronically throughout her whole life. It sounds a lot like Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And then I looked it up, and Rebecca Yarros has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is this syndrome that your joints are really hypermobile, so they you can bend your arm backwards more than most people, but you are also prone to injuring yourself more and all of this stuff. And I was like, she's just a genius at bringing in the stuff from her life that's clearly important and weaving it into the story.
I thought it was a brilliant and new character trait to give like the heroine of an action fantasy novel, a chronic illness.
Yeah.
Because everything that goes on at this college is so grounded in physical agility.
Yep.
It's fighting, it's leaping onto your dragon, it's weapons training. And so to have your main character have to battle in addition with a chronic illness was really clever. But there are lots of interesting character traits that she gives to both Violet and Xaden. And we should also say that the plot extends to introduce us to their wider friendship group. We get that wonderful cast of additional characters that we're just not going to have time to talk about everybody.
And they get violently, like, demolished halfway through. You just about get attached to somebody and suddenly one of them's dead. That's very Game of Thrones.
That's right. There were so many times in this book that I learnt someone's name.
Yeah.
And then they were incinerated.
Yeah.
Or carved up.
Fell off a cliff.
That eventually, anytime someone new was introduced, I thought, well, I don't really know how much attention to give you. You really have to learn 3 people's names. Violet, Xaden, and in classic love triangle format, Dane Atos.
Mm-hmm.
Who takes what role?
Yeah, so he's the other kind of part of the triangle. He's the potential other love interest that at the beginning we certainly see as kind of like the maybe the primary love interest, the first kind of like, oh, this is the person she's interested in. He's her like long-term childhood friend. They're really close. He seems really sweet and lovely. And he certainly seems interested in her. And so I actually think it's kind of a really interesting take on the love triangle, and it goes in a slightly different direction than you might expect. And it's not just both of them like incessantly fighting over her. It's a little bit different, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And we have that love triangle. But then the book introduces what is going to sound like a bonkers concept, but I'm just so here for it, which is this odd love foursome, stay with me, where so a lot of the relationship between Xaden and Violet as the book progresses hinges on the fact that each of them is bonded to a dragon, but their dragons are mated with each other.
Yep.
And this is so fantastic because while the dragons can mind speak, it then means that the mind speaking extends also to Xaden and Violet.
Yeah.
So you get this little private quadrant of them as characters. It sounds so weird to say that it's a lot of what generates the sexiness of the book.
Yeah. Although I do say that some of the like explicit dragon sex scenes were possibly a little bit too much for me. I wasn't necessarily into that side of things. I feel like sometimes fantasy books, there always has to be some kind of, like, you can't just have like normal sex scenes. There has to be some kind of high concept to the sex scenes as well. And in this one, it's that the dragons are sexy with each other as well as the people.
I was so torn between thinking this is really weird and also being like, if it moves the main plot forwards for like the 2 people we care about,
it
which
certainly
it
did that.
But you're right, that is the idea. It's that when the dragons are horny, so are the riders. And I was sort of like, okay, we'll go with that. But before we get into, because we know we've got our thermometer category coming up, and that's such an important part of this book. This book is unashamedly in, and we've got to set out these terms, a new genre. Not new as in this year, but certainly I don't feel like it existed when we were much younger.
No, I'd say definitely within the last 5 years.
Yeah. And mostly people are referring to it as what we're calling it new adult as a category, which is a way of distinguishing between young adult,
which weirdly doesn't really mean young adult. Young adult,
no, because we love it,
like teenager up to whatever. But often you could find 14-year-olds reading young adult novels, but they shouldn't probably be reading these kinds of books. Although I bet we would have done.
Oh, we 100% would have done. And that's what makes me think: did this sort of thing exist when we were younger? And if so, how did we not find it? But maybe it just didn't, because in the young adult space, you get, we've spoken before about our desperate frustration with the Twilight books.
Yeah.
And the direction they did not take. And I almost feel like this sort of genre is a leftover reaction to all the people who were disappointed by the absence of any spicy scenes in the young adult category.
Yeah.
Because this genre is pretty shameless.
Yes.
Pretty shameless. If you are looking for a spicy read, oh my God, this is it. In fact, we're just going to have to go into our thermometer category.
Yeah.
Pretty much right away. I mean,
So thermometer in degrees then, out of 100.
out of 100, like Maddie, this Fourth Wing, what do you give it?
I mean, it's got to be a strong 95.
That's exactly what I wrote.
Like you could get sexier if you were going for like just porn books, erotic novels. This is not that. It's got its own actual plot that you care about and that is important, but it is just woven with the chemistry and the sexual tension throughout, and the romantic plot is just as important as the war plot, the dragon plot, and one's not diminishing the other one, but yeah, the eroticism is just throughout the whole thing.
100%.
Yeah.
And Xaden is introduced in chapter 1 in such a way where you just know, okay, I can see what this book is going to be about and I am so here for it.
Yeah.
But it does have to maintain this very careful balance that romantasy, this blended subgenre of new adult, has to try and balance, which is the enough of the fantasy plot line that you don't just think this is a shameless, shameless read.
Well, and that was my problem with, as I mentioned earlier, the ACOTAR books. I was just like, I can't read this because I feel like I'm just reading the introduction to a porn film or something. Like the whole thing was just read like erotica. Whereas this, I'm like all on board with the plot and the writing as well as the sexiness.
This upsets me so deeply because I so wildly disagree. But that is fine. That is fine. This certainly has... Yeah, actually, if we do continue that comparison, this has action consistently from the start.
Yeah.
In a way that the ACOTAR books take a while to sort of build up to that. Whereas this is out and out, structured, cool action right from the beginning. And if we do think about, oh, this is going to jog your memory. I made a note earlier where I thought, why is this setting so sexy? Because it's a war college. They're described as like soldiers. You've already referenced there's a military background.
Yeah.
But the book says explicitly in sort of chapter 1 or 2, maybe even, I'm not sure that this piece of writing is particularly great, but it really explicitly says everybody gets it on at this college almost immediately because you could be dead.
Yeah.
The next day.
And also their early 20s, like, you know, it's just normal. They're at university. Like, it's what people are thinking about a lot. And that's fine and normal.
Do you remember when we were at school? Oh, God. and we were at a school where nothing sexy was happening. It was an all-girls school. It was very, very far from this sort of environment. But the one arena in which a selection of individuals encountered boys was cadets.
Yeah, true.
Do you remember that?
True, yeah.
We had sort of one key friend who would come back from whatever it was you did at cadets.
Yeah.
And we would be right there in our year 8 or 9 classroom, like, tell us what happened. What happened? It was the source of any drama.
But it was not enough to make us go to cadets.
No! No way. Cadets involved, like...
We are not Violet.
Oh, Maddie, come on. We would be scribes.
Yeah, we would totally be scribes.
We would not last one day at basketball.
I'd have fallen off that bridge, whatever it was called, the parapet, immediately.
Oh, it's so true. And cadets involved, like, almost, as a parallel to this book, the friends of ours who were doing it had to do, like, cross-country, obstacle courses.
Yeah,
it was just not for you and I.
No.
In the same way that I know I'm not a Gryffindor, but that's okay. That's okay. But key amongst all of these in-training warriors at Basgiath War College Xaden, who, this is just going to get shameless and we're just going to objectify him a bit, and he doesn't even exist. Oh, he doesn't exist. This is going to be Xaden is a masterclass in designing the absolute book hottie.
Yeah.
Or at least I think so.
How do you imagine him? Like, do you have another character in your mind that you're like, he looks like this person? Because I think I do, and I'm interested to see if you've got one.
I want to get to that, but I think what works so well about Xaden, and some people have criticised this about the book, but I don't care, I'm here for it, is he is the archetypal contemporary book boyfriend.
Yeah.
In that he's 6'4", he's got dark hair, they always do.
Yeah.
We can come back to that. He's got tattoos, he's got scars, he's a rebel survivor, all of this kind of thing. He is your hot, sexy, dangerous, dark book boyfriend.
Bad boy, yeah.
Oh, he's the bad boy. He's just like 6'4" and wearing leather.
Yeah.
And I was like, sold. Sold, I'm going to read this whole book. So he is a little bit like an advanced version. Like he's like the ultimate Pokemon. He's evolved from various other book boyfriends.
So you know that the person that I always imagine in my head is Damon Salvatore. He's basically the same.
That is such a good reference point.
So that's the Vampire Diaries for anyone who hasn't read it. Again, he's the bad boy vampire, but yeah, it's just the same look, the same smoulderingness, the same just like chiseled jawline and dark piercing eyes. It's the same.
And we loved him.
Yeah.
I think with Xaden, it's just that the second he was introduced, I thought, I know this man, and we have loved him for 20 years. And this is another version of him. But with the comparison to someone like Damon had a suave sophistication to him. It was a little bit sultry and velvety in his manner. For anyone who does like ACOTAR, the millions of you that I know are out there, Damon is closer to a Reese for me. Whereas Xaden is described as, this guy uses his gym membership.
Yeah, true. He's chunky.
He's on the protein shakes. Like, if Xaden Riorson had a podcast, it would be like a fitness podcast, or, and this is the other trait of his personality, like one of those like leadership podcasts, because Xaden is a wing leader.
Yeah.
Another brilliant use of Rebecca Yarros invents all this sort of terminology within the book, that the rider's quadrant is split up into wings. And that's why it's called fourth wing.
Yeah.
Because Violet is put in fourth wing division. And Xaden is her wing leader.
Yeah.
Which is like team captain.
Even though he's only meant to be 1 year older, right? He's somehow like got promoted really fast or something.
I think he's a third year. She's the
okay.
She's a first year.
2 years. All right, fine.
He's a third year. And that also generates some tension because obviously he's about to graduate. And she's, that is so low down the list of reasons that there's tension, but there is. On a complete side note, Adam, why is no one hot in books ever blonde? Why? What is this?
Well, I think they're maybe just not the ones that we get attracted to. I think we've talked about our kind of obsession for always the bad boy character. If we're given two, we're always going to choose the dark bad boy rather than the blonde cute one. Some people go for the blonde cute one, but it's not us.
This morning I was thinking about this and I was trying to make notes like who would be an exception to this rule. I have Aaron Warner and that's it. And then I ran out and I couldn't bring myself to write down Legolas.
No.
I just couldn't. So the minute that Xaden Riorson is described as the tall, hot, dark, bad boy, I was like, yep, okay. So, as you said, this book, though, takes their interaction up to another level. We're giving it a 95.
Yeah.
Before we get to chapter 30, that anyone who's listening to this might want to know I've designated an entire note section to. Just that bad. But what else did you think was spicy about that whole pairing before it gets real spicy? I
mean, I guess it's the the kind of uncertainty of the relationship at the very beginning, right? It's she's been told that he's a rebel and therefore is not kind of on their side, and therefore he might, she assumes that he's trying to kill her. And when as she learns that that's not quite what's going on, that he doesn't really want to kill her, it's like the intrigue of trying to work out why. So the sexiness partly comes from just the natural, like, insanely good looks, and she's insanely attracted to him immediately, but also this like intrigue of like finding out what's going on with him and why he's not acting exactly how she's expecting him to act from like what she's been told, and slowly kind of learning more and more. And then, as you said, like they're thrown into this situation where they're basically bonded together with the dragons, and so at that point they kind of have to they're kind of thrown into close quarters, even though it's not physical close quarters, it's like mental close quarters. They're thrown into, I can like tell what you're thinking or feeling and can like sense things, and that like sparks the sexiness.
The transition for me to when they introduced the mind speaking was a moment, I think that might have been one of the moments where I scared Olivia on holiday and yelped, because I love that trope, especially when the book is in first person. So we're always in Violet's head. And Xaden as a character is quite closed off and mysterious, of course, and he has his guard up. So it takes actually a while. It's almost, you almost get through half the book before, and it's done so brilliantly. There's a group scene and Violet says to him out loud something like, "Stop being a dick." And he says, and it comes in italics in the book,
yes,
"You haven't seen me even start to be a dick."
Yeah.
And I looked at the page like, where did the speech marks go?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that exact moment so well and being like, oh, I can see where this is going.
I thought, yes, this is going to be great, because as it all progresses, there is such wonderful tension built up by they are able to have these little sassy, sexy exchanges with each other, mind to mind, when everyone else is just talking about like battle briefing or at breakfast. At one point, they have a great little sexy discussion and Xaden almost chokes on his porridge or something, and it's just so well done.
You know what else is super sexy about their interactions?
Loads, yes, but yes, specifically what?
The fact that he calls her violent.
I love it.
Like the first time he called her violence instead of Violet, I was like, and like did that little butterfly thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is so hot.
I love a nickname in a book. I think it's fantastic. Like, her name is Violet, but obviously they spend most of the time like throwing knives at each other. And yeah, I love that too. And then he calls her Violence for pretty much the rest of the book. Yeah. Which is just, I loved that too.
And it really highlights the difference between his relationship with her and his like, because this book is violent, you know, it is like, you know, there's a lot of fighting going on, but to a lot of people in this world, Violet is seen as weak, but Xaden literally never sees her as weak, like right from the beginning, never. Whereas Dane, who is her other kind of love interest or potential love interest.
It's her best friend.
Her best friend.
From the past.
But he does see her as weak, and he's endlessly trying to protect her and like help her get out so she doesn't have to be a rider anymore because she's too weak to be able to survive this. And it's coming from a good place, but it doesn't come from a place of like respecting what she actually wants. Whereas Xaden is like instantly sees that she is more than that, and that actually she does fit into this world, and that name like just encapsulates that brilliantly, and how Xaden sees her for who she is and who she wants to be, whereas Dane just wants to protect her, and that's really like boring.
Oh, it's so boring. I'm finding it hard not to just say that we hate Dane so much. But Dane spends most of the book trying to smuggle her out of Basgiath War College and put her back as a scribe, send her back to hang out with people like me and you. Whereas no, we just want Violet to live her best life with Xaden in the sparring gym.
With the dragons.
With the dragons. And the sparring. Oh God, I love a sparring. I love any fantasy book that has weapons training in it. I don't know why. And what's wrong with me? After a book like this, going to the regular gym is just ruined for me. It's so upsetting.
It's not quite the same.
It's not the same.
No.
Nobody is training with knife throwing and daggers and swords, and no one's shirtless. It's very upsetting. Very upsetting. But their interaction is one where Xaden, who you're absolutely right, who sees her potential and sees her, because she's quick.
Yeah.
She's quick. She's nimble. She's brilliant with daggers. That's her skill. And one of the things I'll talk about as my USP, well, we'll get there, but I'm going to come back to their training in the sparring gym. And then, of course, all of this crescendos in what is now just famous as being referred to as Chapter 30. And this is a little bit of something borrowed from ACOTAR, where it has become such a thing on the internet to talk about Chapter 55, the remedy to the absence of anything in Twilight. And I know that Sarah J. Maas lived through that era, as we did, and must have just been scandalized by it. So remedies this with, quite literally, this is the concept of the chapter-long sex scene.
Yeah.
And that is what we get in Fourth Wing in Chapter 30. Again, if you're reading the book and you've not read this far, just pause. Just go away.
We already told them to go away. It's fine.
I know. But you never know who's hung on. But Chapter 30 is... Matt, what did you think of it?
Oh, I mean, it was like, that satisfaction that you were like hoping would happen just all got like, kind of pushed into, and it is explicit.
It's so explicit.
It is not mincing words and using like, similes and metaphors. No. This is like explaining what is actually happening, like blow by blow.
This is so hard to discuss without us getting like thrown off of Spotify or something, but we're gonna give it a go.
But in like, in a way that's actually like, well done. Like it feels like there was enough of a build up that this is like worth it. It's worth that level of detail, and it's important enough. It's great.
I loved it, but I do have some notes.
Okay.
If I may entertain now.
I haven't read it as recently as you. You just reread it, so I may not remember every single detail. So
you're gonna remember that stuff. But I should say that I loved it. So these things are hard to read and hard to write. Sorry, not hard to read.
Easy to read.
I read it very easily, but very hard to write. And the detail is superb. But I found it slightly difficult to follow. This is going to sound mad, but in terms of the choreography.
Oh, really?
Yes, this is an incredibly detailed sex scene that has Violet and Xaden. They move around a lot. I couldn't follow. It was like they were on the desk, and then they were against the window, and then they were I also had to look up what an armoire is.
It's like a chest, right?
The internet told me it was some kind of wardrobe.
Yeah.
But I was in the middle of this sex scene. They were like spinning around, and there's some sort of line and then they slam into the armoire. And the imaginative trajectory of it had to be paused for me because I was like, what?
Yeah, I probably just kind of didn't worry too much about I just kind of took in the overall vibe and went with it, went with the flow.
Yeah. But they were breaking stuff.
They were breaking stuff.
And that stressed me out. I was like, things like breaking like vases, the door was broken, and like the sex scene was amazing, but some little voice in the back of my brain was like, that's going to be really difficult to.
But that's very Twilight as well. The Twilight missing sex scene, they wake up to a destroyed room. We don't get to see how that happened, but they wake up to a destroyed room. So I think you're right, and this is another one of the kind of Twilight kind of fill in the gaps scenes.
That is so true. I had forgotten that about Twilight, but I love that. And because I had written down a different sex scene nod, a different echo, which is finally after seasons and seasons when we get the Buffy and Spike sex scene. It was iconic for it basically becomes a demolition site.
Yeah.
And again, they wake
you're
up
right.
in rubble.
Yeah.
So this was one of my like favorite tropes deployed. But every time I do think, oh, the dust and the splinters and the, oh God.
The expense.
Yes. But part of the reason that there is so much demolition in that scene is to do with a concept that is going to nudge us into our next category about how badass is it. And when we talk about this, we have to talk about signets. But Maddie, how badass is Fourth Wing?
Oh, like full badass. Whatever category we're calling this, whatever scale we're putting on badassery today, it's like the full level of badassery.
I've just written the highest level.
Yeah.
And you're right, we never got round to agreeing, like, what's it out of? What's the scale?
This is 10,000 cadets out of 10,000 cadets.
It's like a
badassery.
1,000,000% badass. I mean, it's obviously, it's a war college, but it does these wonderful set pieces where it's not just violent the whole time. There's structured set pieces of, you were referring to the beginning, there's this brilliantly cinematic concept where to enter the war college, to qualify as a rider, you have to walk across what's called the parapet, this tiny, tiny, tiny bridge where if you fall, you die.
It's not even got any, like, strings to hold on to or anything, is it? It's just literally like a tightrope, but a bridge.
Yep. And the book is fantastic because you think, should I be worried about this concept? But I think as Violet sort of starts out, the person literally ahead of her, again, whose name you just learned.
Yeah. That seemed really nice.
Just straight out falls off.
Yeah.
And you think, oh shit, okay, this is a worry now. So we get the parapet, we get these different kind of challenges, squad battle, the gauntlet, which is basically obstacle courses, but deadly. And of course we get challenges where each cadet has to fight another one repeatedly on the mat.
And they can kill each other. Again, another reason why they might die. They can just kill each other if they fancy it.
Yep. And it's so badass in that you've got all these different kinds of weapons. I remember at one point Xaden, of course it's Xaden, has like 2 swords strapped to his back. And I was like, yes, more of that. Violet has, well, how does she keep her daggers?
Well, she has that like armor that her sister's made her that's like made of scales. I think so, she must have some, I think she has some way of tucking it into beneath her clothes and into the armor.
That's absolutely right. And so they're always pulling daggers out of sort of leg sheaths and all this cool stuff. But everything about the whole aesthetic is sexy. They're in leathers, they're in flight costumes, they've got cool jackets. One of my favorite moments of the book was when Xaden she grabs his jacket after chapter 30 and she's wearing his jacket that's got the wing leader patch on the side and the 3 stars. Yeah. And one of her mates tries to cover it up like, oh God, people are going to see that you're in Xaden's jacket. And I just remember thinking, this is such a small touch, but I love it. And then how high is the obsession fuel with and this might be hard to answer because we're on book 1.
You know what? I really think it has the potential to be pretty high. Like, the thing that really excited me about the next book coming out was actually to learn more about the world and to learn more about the rebellion and why it's happening and why they've got this separate faction that they come across at the end. And I really, really wanted to understand more about the world and the lore, and they drip the lore in quite early with this book that her dad's given her that is in theory meant to be just myths and legends, but turns out that it's probably actually true history. And I think there's a lot there. We may not have seen it all just yet, but I would give it, if we're talking about how full's my tank of obsession right now for like wanting to dig into it, it's probably a good like 3/4 tank.
We did both pre-order Iron Flame.
Yeah.
So it's got us. We're sold. We're sucked in. But it does have all those elements. It has a map, one of the other things that will make me buy a book before I even read the first word. It does have this complex history of conflicts. And I really enjoyed rereading it because, shamefully, I noticed that I had skim read quite a lot of things on the first read. The Xaden Violet sexy plot is so compelling that it almost is hard to sit there and read like the complex notes from battle briefing.
You know what? I think this might be the difference between us in our preferences. Because I actually think even with the amount that I enjoyed the sexiness, I think I enjoyed all the rest of it even more.
Oh God, we've identified a really key
Difference in our characters.
No, I love those things too.
No, it's just which part of it like we get more obsessed with. I think that's fine. We're very similar, but we are allowed to have our slight differences.
And part of the obsession fuel that links a little bit with how badass it is you and I love a book where people have powers.
Yeah.
We love it when there's specific powers. We love it when we learn who has what power and how do you develop them.
Yeah.
And in this book, a power is called a signet. And Violet's power is to be a lightning wielder.
Yeah, pretty badass.
Pretty badass.
Very badass.
And Xaden wields shadows.
Yeah, even more badass.
God, I just love everything. Again, well done, Rebecca Yarros. It's just brilliant trope on top of brilliant trope on top of yes, yes, yes the entire time. But this concept of signets is brilliant. And when you bond with your dragon, and that's how you channel your signet, you also get, to add to the obsession fuel and the badassness, a tattoo. You get a relic. And it's specific to you and your dragon. And I thought you'd be totally into this.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty awesome.
100%. Madeline is a bit of a tattoo connoisseur. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about is I've now seen people getting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people are getting Violet's tattoo.
Yeah. Is it described in enough detail to be able to do that?
Yeah, that was something I missed on the first read.
Right.
She's got this dragon that spans across her shoulder blades.
Wow.
I think. And it's sort of eclipsed by Xaden's one is much bigger and much more intricate. But it's the sort of thing where if I spot someone with a tattoo that is a specifically nerdy fantasy tattoo.
Yeah.
It makes me so very happy. It's a popular one is seeing someone with like the Deathly Hallows.
Oh, totally,
symbol.
Yeah. You occasionally see the supernatural ones as well, which are like there's like a particular tattoo that they have on their chests which repels demons. You see that one around.
Or just like some sort of elvish or
like the tree from Lord of the Rings.
The Gondor tree.
Yeah.
It is not uncommon for me to go up to a stranger and just say, like, appear at their elbow, like, now, is that the black speech of Mordor?
Yeah.
On your bicep. We need to talk. So this plays into that idea and fascination with fantasy tattoos as well. But we should also say, in terms of obsession fuel, that, and this is very timely for our podcast recording, Amazon have just got the rights to make this a TV show.
Ooh.
That news made me so happy. It just had to happen. This book has sold too many copies. It's spent so long at the top of the bestseller list that a serious TV show is going to come out of this.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, do you think it's going to work as a TV show? Do you think Amazon is the right?
Yeah. I think they could do it really well. So the biggest fantasy thing I saw from them most recently was probably the kind of Lord of the Rings prequels, which didn't really work for me. But I could see that in parts of that they did have the budget and they did have the kind of, like, this is a simpler story, right, than Lord of the Rings. And so I think if they could take a simpler story and get the writing really right and the casting really right, then yeah, I think they could do a fantastic job. And it would, I'm surprised they've gone TV. Classic would have been just a movie for 1 year.
Yeah, a film per book.
But, people like digging into the details nowadays with streaming and stuff. People just want to get, as much content as possible. So why not?
I think now that TV shows have got a budget that in some cases even surpasses films, I'm happy for it to be this format.
Yeah.
If we hadn't already had Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon that proves technology is good enough for dragons not to look silly,
yeah.
That gives me some confidence. I loathed Rings of Power, but I'm willing to give Amazon another chance here. They can't mess this up for me though. They just can't mess it up. But it's going to rest on the casting. And we had a little bit of a chat earlier, like, how do we fan cast this? And then realised to our dismay, what's wrong with us trying to attempt this?
Well, I mean, you may be better than me, but I just don't know any 20-year-old actors.
We're just not cool anymore. We don't know.
I know the 30-year-old and 35-year-old actors, but I don't know the young cool actors anymore. Like, you showed me a list that somebody had fan cast. The only person that I recognised on it was Lena Headey playing the mother. All the children I didn't know.
This is so true. Our frame of reference is very firmly in the Damon Salvatore, Ian Somerhalder category. I'm so devastated now that Ian keeps getting suggested for fan casting for loads of things like this. And then everyone piles in like, nope, he's too old.
He is too old.
I'm like, what? So who's hot now?
I know, we don't know.
I don't know. But just some people I thought about were because Violet has to be cool. And I know they probably won't use Millie Alcock because she is in House of the Dragon or was in House of the Dragon, and it would be like two
More
dragon
dragons,
things for her.
yeah.
But she had that badass, sassy vibe that I
Did
think
you
would work.
watch her in Upright, which
No.
was more comedic, but also she played a very sassy character. And she's definitely older than she was in that. But yeah, she is very cool, and she's kind of like looks small and petite, but has that strength, which I think is exactly right for Violet. So you're spot on with that one.
I went down a whole rabbit hole of thinking about, would Jacob Elordi be good as Xaden? But I think that is just because he was suggested by a lot of people for Rhys when we're thinking about fan casting the ACOTAR show. But in similar news this week, that seems to be pretty much on life support at the moment for Hulu. So if that's not going to happen, I'm willing to migrate everybody who was suggested for fan casting for that straight over to Fourth Wing. So, Maddie, to kind of start to move towards the end of this, what, if you had to pick like an iconic moment from this book or like a USP or a favourite scene, what is the bit for you that you're like, that was so cool?
So I'm going to pick the moment that made me think, oh yeah, this is actually a really good book. And it's not going to be a romance sex scene. It's going to be on the kind of lore side of things again. But I really felt like sometimes at the beginning I felt, I was reading this and I was like, I know where this is going. She's found in the woods this like small, weak dragon that's like the small one that people think is useless. And the other cadets are like, oh, that dragon's so useless.
Andana, the gold
Andana.
one.
And she finds Andana. I'm like, oh, well, she's gonna bond with the small, weak dragon because she's small and weak. And then, you know, they will fight against the odds and be good at stuff anyway, even though they're not small and weak. No, immediately after this, she bonds with the biggest, most awesome, huge black dragon that everybody else wants. And, I mean, spoilers, she also matches with the second dragon and has two dragons. But it was this like contrast of like, I was so sure it was going to go one way and it was going to be like a really obvious way that this plot could go. And instead, she got to be with like the freaking awesome dragon. And that was the moment I was like, yeah, this book's pretty good.
The book does have a lot of twists and turns, and we'll have to talk about that in a minute when we segue to looking ahead for Iron Flame. But I have shamelessly chosen as Xaden.
It's fine. We're showing our character.
It's not chapter 30, but it is. I've already said that I love a weapons training scene. But Violet spends the early part of the book, because she's not the best hand-to-hand fighter at the start. Partly to do with she's trying to battle against her chronic illness. She's got a physical disadvantage against a lot of the bigger fighters. But she's smart. So do you remember she poisons a lot of the people she's due to fight?
Yeah,
and
just
beats
makes them
that
a bit
way.
sick beforehand.
But Xaden is onto her. So this fantastic scene where I think the previous chapter ends by just saying, like, Xaden walked onto the mat. And he comes to challenge her in hand-to-hand combat. And it is this scene where he is so disarmingly sexy and arrogant. And I don't think he even bothers with a weapon. He just stands there. And everything she throws at him, he manages to counter. He systematically takes every single dagger off of her.
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant because they talk to each other throughout. Everybody's watching them. And it gets to go into the kind of detail of the way they both move, the really awesome like drop kick moves they do on each other. You can tell I'm a Buffy fan. I loved it. I wanted as much detail from that scene as possible. And it ends up with both of them on the floor. And it's just, I love it. I just love it. Well done, Rebecca Yarros. It was superb. So now here we are sitting here with Iron Flame.
Yeah.
It's come out today. I haven't read one word yet. Maddie, what do you want to see? Well, what do you think? Where's this going to go? What are your predictions? What do you want to happen in Iron Flame?
Oh, goodness. Oh, well, I want to know everything about this, like, separatist group that has been fighting all these, like, different... what are they called? They're called the...
So we have the Griffins.
The Griffins,
But then it turns out the sort of big baddies are the Venin.
Yes, which we thought were mythical creatures, but it turns out they're real, and there's this, like, conspiracy plot to keep this secret from the rest of the world.
Surprise! There's monsters.
It's, I just want to know everything about what has this other group been up to this whole time. So we find out right at the end that Violet's brother, who she thought has been dead for 5 years, has actually been alive and well and part of this other group. What's he been doing? Xaden's been a part of this group. What's he been doing? How has he been, like, lying this whole time? How is that going to play out with their relationship? And, like, how are those two groups, like the original kind of Basgiath College and that separatist group, are they going to kind of come together in some way and, like, be a clash? Or are they going to, like, join forces to agree to fight the, like, ultimate bad guys? Like,
there's a lot to play for.
I want to know.
But that twist that you referenced, because this is the main twist of the book, that we spend the whole book thinking that Violet's brother Brennan is dead, killed by the rebellion.
Yeah,
and he's not. And everybody made a huge deal out of this twist. I wasn't that
I was
into it.
I read it and was like, oh no, I need the next book now. That's how I felt.
most
Massive
people's reaction.
cliffhanger. Like, it's such a huge secret. Like, he has been a part of essentially the group that were the enemies this whole time.
I absolutely was signing up for the next book. But for me, it was because Xaden had also lied to Violet, betrayed her.
Yeah.
And so it ends on this wonderfully tantalizing note where they are now not together. She is pissed off with him.
She is angry, yeah. But I feel like that's so temporary.
Oh, that's going to last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But then, this is going to be, we should say, it's been announced that this is a 5-book series. We've got book 2 in our hands, but we've already had the main relationship. Do you think it's going to be Xaden and Violet for 5 books? It
can't possibly be, can it?
No,
it can't.
They can't be Endgame because he's coming too early.
Well, they could be Endgame, but they would have to have a significant problem in the middle for them to come back together if that is the case.
And these are chunky books.
Yeah.
Like we've got Iron Flame here balanced on top of Fourth Wing, and it is bigger.
It is bigger. Yeah,
it is bigger. But I know Xaden is in it because I saw it on the back cover.
Of course Xaden's in it. He's the main character.
Thank God, otherwise I'm returning it. Just absolutely returning it. And that really concludes our very excitable discussion about Fourth Wing. And we are now going to dive into Iron Flame this evening.
Absolutely.
But first, if you've been enjoying the podcast, follow us on Instagram, Fangirl Diaries Pod, all one word. Give us a follow or subscribe to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And do rate us as well if you think any of our discussions have any merit.
I hope you've enjoyed it. So yeah, if you have, we'd love a rating or a review. We just want more people to come and join our little gang here and listen to our silly obsessions. Talking of, next week, we're going to be going back into our kind of historical obsessions and talking about the Hunger Games.
I cannot wait. I love it so much.
And I feel like it's super relevant to what we've been talking about today, and will really like be a really interesting comparison. So yeah.
And also, we have got the film coming out as well soon.
The new film,
The
prequel.
new film.
Yeah.
Oh God, we're going to need to talk about the old films, the new film. Yeah, join us next week. That's where it's going to go.